Tech Center, so where are my hobbits at? Where are the Goonies at? Rudy. Yeah!
Turtles?
Ninja Turtles now?
Teenage Mutant Ninja
Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Sorry, that's
So how the hell are you?
Some of them were not hobbits, they were orcs posing as hobbits.
I'm sure, right? Now,
Look at all you, can I just say thank you?
holy mackerel, packed house. I'd imagine
I haven't seen this many people in the room for me until they were trying to vote for why I should coach the soccer team. And how no, I'm just kidding.
Now, where do you guys screaming out? Where do you love Sean from the most? Are there Rudy fans? Goonies fans?
Who's right after me? What panel's right after me? It's like Stan Lee, right?
Yeah,
That's why we were at the TV panel.
This is so awesome. It's going to take me another few minutes to kind of absorb this. I have kind of a, everybody wants to know what my favorite character is.
Yeah.
And, it's like telling, I have 3 daughters, it's like telling the middle one she's my favorite.
Right.
It's like, Elizabeth, I love you so much. You are totally my favorite. And she says, no, Dad, you shouldn't say that. You shouldn't say that. And I'm like, you are. You're my favorite. Now listen, I'm going to tell your sisters that they're my favorite, but you are my favorite. So, and I had this image at one point that I talk about of all of the characters I've played, kind of in a room, interacting with each other.
Even Doug from 50 First Dates?
He joked out, man. He joked out. Pushes protein shakes onto, I don't know what I'm trying to ask the esoteric. Like, how many people have seen Whitewater Summer? How many have seen Borderland? No? There you go. You gotta watch Tough Security levels.
Who loves seeing Sean in his banana hammock and click?
Augmentation? You need to judge. It's really a comparative thing, isn't it? Oh, well, no.
Now, what's your impression of walking through Comic-Con here in New York City? I mean, this is a scene, huh?
It's Friday. It's the slow day. My hand is palsied from signing for the first 3 hours this morning. It's unbelievable how much New York and the greater boroughs have. Well, there's 5, right? There are 5 boroughs. There's 5, and there's kind of the pentagonal borough. The effort. And the people have told me they came in from Florida because their wife really needed toy soldiers, VHS, something. That kind of stuff. So it's pretty full on. It's pretty full on. And I gotta say, San Diego Comic-Con, I thought of this as like, well, there's a big baseball game on tonight, right?
Yeah.
It's for the not the division. It's
Yankees, Orioles?
Yeah. So San Diego Comic-Con is like the Super Bowl. It's like the World Series. But this is the championship.
Yeah.
This is the league championship. So, but it's even. I mean, I was just at Comic-Con in San Diego. I'm in the Alphas, which on Monday for the next episode, and so there was that. They did an outdoor screening of the Goonies, which is really cool, like a free screening, and they projected up on this big thing. It was awesome, and because now I'm Raph and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right here. Which is unbelievable. So there were some great big panels, but it felt like and crowds and fun stuff. But I gotta say, it's really, really overwhelming that people would come out in mass to hear whatever stupid thing I might have to say. I have an interesting thing though that is kind of a surprise you guys don't know about.
What's that?
Well, I don't know that it's going to come to pass. Raise your hand if you know I was going on the favorite character thing. Two Flower is a character I play. Raise your hand if you know who Two Flower is. Wow. I want to see who can pull up on. Does anybody have the internet? Amy?
Not here. You're funny. We're in the basement.
iPhone 5 sort of useless now.
The worst thing about the iPhone 5 is that it has a new attachment, a new power plug. So all of the adapters,
Right.
all the extra power things you bought at the airport, all the cords,
Scheme.
useless. Yeah. I went into InMotion at the airport on the way over here this morning, and I said, "Hey, do you have any, like battery chargers for the iPhone 5?" I wish I would have my camera out to take a picture of what she gave me. She was like, "Is it soon? Soon." You know. But anyhow, well, that's a total bummer that we don't have internet, because I was going to read to you the prologue of Color of Magic. And Color of Magic is the first of the Discworld series. You guys are going to have no idea what I'm talking about.
No.
Does no one, honestly, literally no one has internet in here? Raise your hand if you're the one person who has internet in here. We're like in the Bermuda Triangle. Would you Google Color of Magic prologue and tell me if it comes up? Because I'm going to turn you guys on some. What? I have it on my Kindle. Bring it up!
All right.
When you're in England, or South Africa, or New Zealand, or Australia, or Canada, or anywhere in the English-speaking world besides our country, okay, I promise not to break it. Thanks, man.
You got a way out of bed.
Let's see, how do we, do I have to advance it? Oh, it's right there. Here comes it up.
Let's welcome Ian, everybody. Ian!
So you have Shakespeare, and then you have Tolkien, and C.S. Lewis, and J.K. Rowling, and Terry Pratchett. I think there's 8 or 12 or 16. I think there's 30, but not in the Discworld. How many are in the Discworld? They're all Discworld.
Yeah.
But what about the Watcher?
I don't know the number.
That's the number. It's a
I
lot.
don't know the number. It's
Okay, so this is the first in the prologue of the first book of Color of Magic in a series, Discworld series, and it is awesome. Okay, here you go. In a distant and second-hand set of dimensions, in an astral plane that was never meant to fly, the curling star mists waver apart. See, great Attuin, the turtle, comes swimming slowly through the interstellar gulf, hydrogen frost on his ponderous limbs, his huge and ancient shell pocked with meteor craters. Through sea-sized eyes that are crusted with rheum and asteroid dust, he stares fixedly at the destination. In a brain bigger than a city, with geological slowness, he thinks only of the weight. Most of the weight is of course accounted for by Beryllia, Tabul, Great Typhon, and Jerichine, the 4 giant elephants, upon whose broad and star-tanned shoulders the disk of the world rests, garlanded by the long waterfall at its vast circumference, and domed by the baby blue vault of heaven. Astropsychology has been as yet unable to establish what they think about. The great turtle was a mere hypothesis until the day the small and secret kingdom of Krull, whose rimmost mountains project out over the rimfall, built a gantry and pulley arrangement at the tip of the most precipitous crag, and lowered several observers over the edge in a quartz-windowed brass vessel to peer through the mist veils. The early astrozoologists, hauled back from their long dangle by enormous teams of slaves, were able to bring back much information about the shape and nature of Attuin and the elephants. But this did not resolve fundamental questions about the nature and purpose of the universe. For example, what was ATUN's actual sex? This vital question, said the astrozoologist with mounting authority, would not be answered until a larger and more powerful gantry was constructed for a deep space vessel. In the meantime, they could only speculate about the revealed cosmos. There was, for example, the theory that ATUN had come from nowhere and would continue at a uniform crawl or a steady gait into nowhere for all time. This theory was popular among academics. An alternative, favored by those of a religious persuasion, was that ATUN was crawling from the birthplace to the time of mating, as were all the stars in the sky, which were obviously also carried by giant turtles. When they arrived, they would briefly and passionately mate for the first and only time, and from that fiery union, new turtles would be born to carry new patterns of worlds. This was known as the Big Bang hypothesis. Thus it was that a young Cosmo-Shalonian of the Steady Gate faction, testing a new telescope with which he hoped to make measurements of the precise albedo of great ATUN's right eye, was on this eventful evening the first outsider to see the smoke rise upward like the middle of the disc, rimward is the arrow, from the burning of the oldest city in the world. Later that night, he became so engrossed in his studies he completely forgot about it. Nevertheless, he was the first. There would be others. The shape and cosmology of the disk systems are perhaps worthy of note at this point. Did I blow through that?
Battery's dying.
What's going on?
No, but I feel like I'm past the. Anyhow, all right. So you get. My character that I get to play, who's introduced later, is Two-Flower. He's the first tourist to the disc world, and he's sort of a bright, colorful clothes and glasses and a funny hat, and he carries with him a trunk that has 100 lights and walks on its own. If you open it, there's gold, as much gold as you could possibly want, and he has a picture box. And if he wants to take a picture of something, he sort of looks down and he takes a picture, and then inside the box, a little imp starts drawing what it was that he was looking at. I need more red! I need more red! So anyhow, that's one of my favorite characters that I ever played, and I commend to your attention Terry Pratchett, who is an extraordinary author, and I loved working on the adaptation of his first massive work. So I just put that out there. So you can move on to the next.
Check it out. When you first did the Lord of the Rings movie, did you feel as though? Did you feel like you knew you had it? There was a hit on your hands. Did you feel like all the fans would come out for Lord of the Rings? Because you seem so passionate about the new project.
This was what we did to Two-Flower, but the yeah.
Like you knew, you're like, oh, victory.
Well, New Line was with 3 movies. They were clearly, all you could do is walk on the set and see 300 New Zealand soldiers dressed as, Urukai. And they'd be doing, well, this is the period of time we're doing 6 weeks of night shoots in the rain to get the Battle of Helm's Deep sequence. It's kind of a thing. You didn't know if it would work. There have been any number of movies that were epic movies that a lot of money got spent on, and a lot of really great people worked on them, and they just don't work. They stop, or they don't connect with the public, or something happens. I mean, interestingly, we just noted the 11th anniversary of 9/11, and the first Lord of the Rings movie came out in December 19th, 2001. And it's really interesting because, you had hundreds of people who worked for years of their life to do something. This was their mission. And it was in jeopardy because this awful thing happened. And everybody understands that you put things into perspective. Your work, your movie is not as important as what's happening on the global stage. It's not as important as the trauma that's happening. But in an interesting way, Lord of the Rings was the perfect thing to be available for the public and for the world audience a couple months after that, because it dealt in a really moving and powerful way with some of the great, the nature of good and evil. And it created an emotional journey for people that was cathartic, and it was escaping, but in some way you could escape without feeling, because they were so good, because the quality of them were so iconic, and like you could tell in the history of cinema, this was like something new had happened. It was really, really good. So you didn't feel like you're cheapening what was happening in your life by giving yourself over to something. It's just an amazing thing. I mean, we thought an awful lot, because you never know. You never know what's going to happen in the world when a movie comes out. There could be a hurricane. There could be, certain things they anticipate for. I don't know if they're going to be, releasing a movie this weekend, and you've got this great championship, kind of baseball games on the line. People are going to stay home for that. It just was amazing to me that Lord of the Rings, which you didn't know if it would 100% connect. You knew it had the chance. You knew that this was the best work that I would ever do in my lifetime, and that everyone else associated was going to do with their lifetime, from the costume designers and the guys who did the chainmail and forged the swords, and just up and down the painting the sets. I mean, there were guys who would just for 2 months be in the woods painting the elven scenery into where the leaves are growing. You know what I mean? It's just like that people cared so much, and it was the most talented people. So you knew it had every chance, but you didn't know 100%. So knowing that, and then realizing that when it came out, and I only played a small, I'm proud of my part. I know that it really moved a lot of people, but in a real way, I mean, I was a small part of what was, created. But to know that I was a part of something that was created that was a benefit to people at a time of need, that was extraordinary.
Sean, as
I didn't ask Ian if he saw the first one when it came out.
Hey, Ian, did you see it?
I did.
All right. As a kid, Sean, were you familiar with the story, The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit? And did you kind of have your eyes set on that, or did it just happen?
I never heard of The Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit. My degree is in American literature and in history and American literature and culture. They're English books, so I get a pass, I guess. Or my UCLA degree doesn't mean what I used to. But when I was driving with my car, my agent called and said, honey, you have to have a flawless British accent by Tuesday. Peter Jackson is doing the Lord of the Rings trilogy for New Line. And I heard trilogy. New Line. And I knew who Peter Jackson was. He directed my dad in Frankenstein. My dad played the judge. So I was like, what? She was the Lord of the Rings. I was like, I'm sorry, I don't know what it is. She goes, The Hobbit. I was like, oh yeah, I know what that is. I thought it was the Phantom Tolkien. So anyhow, I literally turn my car around while I'm on the phone, and I go to Barnes & Noble, and I walk in. Now, if I would have looked at the bottom shelf, I would have seen an entire shelf dedicated to Terry Pratchett. But instead, I went in there and said to the Barnes & Noble person, do you know Tolkien? Tolkien? Gerald? Yeah. Down and walked over, and I was like, I remember my first thought when I looked up and saw all the John Howe books and all the Alan Lee books and all the different, there was, all the other related Tolkien stuff, his book of letters and all, it's just kind of laid out right there, and I thought, what else am I missing? But I picked my favorites. There were 3 Alan Lee illustrators, a 3-book set, and I went home and I read the first 180 pages in 2 hours, and which got to the part where the audition scenes were. So I knew enough You keep doing the audition scene.
But is that extra pressure for you when people are so invested and so passionate already about these characters? Is that higher expectations for you?
When I read the audition scenes, it was the scene where there's a couple. The one really good one was where Furrow's been stabbed by Sheila. And don't go, Mr. Furrow, don't go where I can't follow. You know, certain words in the English language, when Tolkien is just amazing. There's something about, I don't know if it's resonance or something about home. The word home. Home. It sounds like it feels, you know. So, and that's all through the book. This language, this rich, brilliant language. When I read it, you know, don't go, Mr. Furrow, don't go where I can't follow. I didn't care what anybody else thought of anything. Those words spoke to my heart, and I knew exactly what they meant, and I wanted to do them out loud. And so I just kept doing them over and over and over again. And we brought in a dialogue coach, a hired dialogue coach for $75 an hour. And, what they call a standard received pronunciation British, which is kind of like a Cockney, not Cockney, but it's kind of a main, kind of like what Elijah does in the movie. Oh, Sam. You know?
Sean, you walk around town, you see so many people passionate about different characters, different shows, different movies, and a lot of your movies people are very passionate about, whether it's Goonies or Lord of the Rings or Rudy. They're dressing up wearing this stuff, your friends and fans. Do you have any of these things? Did you take home a little memorabilia from all the sets that you've been on? Do you have the Rudy jacket? Do you have...
How many people saw Profiles in History? Tell them what happened.
The map?
Which one?
The Goonies map? Are you
Yeah.
Your mom threw it away?
Oh!
Goonies map? Just your How many people like Patty Duke? How many people saw the Academy Award-winning performance in Miss Helen Keller and Miracle Worker? Or the Patty Duke show? Patty's been most everywhere, from Zen Bar to Berkeley Square. Patty Duke is in right? You guys like that?
Crazy.
I think she inadvertently threw away the map, the doubloon, the inhaler, and it was the same move. I went to go to Memphis Belle in London, and I was 18, and I just moved out of the house. I got my own condo, and when I got back, the house that I lived in for 18 years belonged to somebody else, and they lived in a different place now. And
They told you they moved, right?
I think my stepsisters, I found out. But I said, well, do you know where this is and do you know where that is? And they were like, no, you know, we threw out a lot of stuff, but we didn't throw out anything that looked important. So I don't know if they threw it out. I don't know if it's my fault, but it went missing. It's not there. We knew subsequent owners of the house and went in and looked in the attic and looked in places where it might have been. And it's actually Joe Maddalena from Profiles in History, which is this great show on Sci-Fi that just talks all about movie memorabilia and stuff. He invited me onto the first episode of this season's show, and like I brought my helmet in for Rudy, and it was all busted up. It had been like in the garage, you know, and when the garage gets flooded, and the Rudy helmet's flooded, and you know, who cares? And he was like, "Are you kidding?" And so he had it kind of lovingly restored and put in this glass box. And then all of a sudden, my kids were like, "Wow, look at that!" And you're like, "Well, I was sitting in the garage." But apparently, it was worth like $50 grand. Wow! That would have been worth like $75 grand. And who knows how about the other, you know? So I do have some things from Lord of the Rings that were given to me by Peter and the crew, and the Sam's sword, the backpack, iconic backpack, that was in the show with Joe. It's got like the pots and pans and some elephant rope, which totally works well. You're like a photo, you're an ambassador. You know, if you have a thought, you can raise your hand, you're welcome to try to do it. You ever thought about the memorabilia? How many people feel like if I was sitting there, I totally have something to say? Okay, red hair, what would you say?
We'll take some questions from your friends out there?
Yeah.
All right. We'll start with Mr. Yankee Baseball.
Okay.
Go down.
Lord of the Rings: Return of the King that you did. How hard you carry Elijah with those royal packets that you carry towards the fires of Mount Doom?
Good question. Good question.
Thank you.
You barely even notice how heavy Elijah Wood is when you're carrying it. But I have a distinct recollection when we were on Mount Ruapehu, the active volcano in the middle of the North Island of New Zealand, where we filmed. Remember this scene where, at the end of the movie, where Frodo's fretting about Strider, and I say, "He may yet, Mr. Frodo, he may yet." That part was in the parking lot. The part where we did, literally, in the actual parking lot, like the paved parking lot, the trucks were going, and so we set the tripod up, and we were like, "Look off in the distance." There's the corridor, and you're like, "There's the catering truck," you know. But we did film up on the top of the volcano, and it was, they had, we had harnesses on. It was quite steep. And they had this effects guys would kind of clamber down, and they would put these pots with smoke in them to create the kind of atmosphere, and then they would, you know, it's CG, they would paint out the actual tinting, but it just looks like the mountain is smoking really good. So they were down there, but they had harnesses on, and then they'd be kind of, you know, pulled back up, and I had a harness on. Now, the feet, the Hobbit feet, I understand from Hawaii that the new Hobbit feet, the new and improved, you know, XLS, BMW Hobbit. Say again?
Hobbit Feet 5.
Hobbit Feet 5, exactly right. Okay. You see Peter Jackson like in a black shirt coming out and this is a new gel we found, and then apparently Elijah's like, "They're so comfortable." I'm like, "Yeah, ass off." What you do is to get them on, you come in the morning, like 4 in the morning, and they would take a, oh my goodness, okay. Very good. I'll finish this thought, and then I have a surprise. So, my thought is this, that picking up Elijah Wood, he couldn't be on my shoulder with the harness, because it was too awkward. And not just that you wouldn't see it, but it would pull at his clothes in a weird way, and it would mean I can't turn. So basically, I had Elijah Wood picked up on my shoulders on a very steep, loose dirt terrain in Hobbit shoes that Hobbit feet that I'd been glued into. That when you sweat and when you carry somebody up a heavy mountain, you sweat, you start to slip around. So even if you're locked in the feet are silicone and are slipping on the dirt, and then you're inside of it slipping around, and then I'm on a harness perfectly safe, and then I've got Elijah Wood up and I'm thinking, I've got a $250 million franchise right here. So I know we have other questions, and I want to answer them, but I introduced you to the idea of someone who happens to be visiting. I would love for you to welcome my friend, the extraordinary, the legendary author, Terry Pratchett. Come here for a minute. Come here for a minute. Hold on, wait. Yeah. You've been to Hobbiton.
You know the important thing about Hobbiton?
The important thing about Hobbiton is you can get good ale. Second,
That's one thing of a problem. There's no
come
toilets.
sit so we get the microphone.
There are no toilets.
No toilets?
Terry's observation is that there are no toilets in Hobbiton.
Neither indoors or out. No wonder they were all so fat.